Welcome back to the show, and today we're looking at hidden secrets for success from your business constellation with Martijn Meima, and he is joining us from the Netherlands, and we're going to look at what his view of what business intuition is, and what is business constellation, and why you as an entrepreneur should be using it, and how you can use it to diagnose the root cause of complex or repetitive problems that where you sense something is wrong, but you can't put your finger on it, or you've got a conflict that's really hard to solve, or you want to resolve problems in teams. And we'll also look at clearing office space bad energy and how that can really mess with your business success, and how to have better mergers and reorganizations in your business using Business Constellation. So welcome, Martijn.
Thank you, Michaela.
And for those of you who don't know him, he is a business intuition expert and coach in the Netherlands. And he has a great ebook on business intuition, and he's been doing this stuff for over 9 years now. So he has had a lot of experience in helping entrepreneurs improve their business using intuitive methods and improve their marketing using intuition. So I'm interested what you think business intuition is. I mean, I've written a lot about that myself, but, you know, I'd love to hear what your opinion is.
Okay, yes. Yeah, that's also why I like connecting with you, because there are not many people using intuition in their business, and it's such a good way of improving your business. And for me, business intuition is tapping into this intuitive layer, I call it. It's this layer that is non-visible, non-touchable, but it's there. Whenever you walk into a room, you sense things. Whenever you have a meeting with people, you already know what is going to happen, or you know if this is going to be good or bad. And all this information, we think, no, this is not good. We need to think of things, and we need to really analyze things. But I would say, okay, why don't you just focus on this information that you get and make it even more precise and more clear? Because that's what happens with intuition. Is sometimes it's really fuzzy and it's not very understandable, but you need to learn this language of your intuition. And it's not like a general language, it's a specific language for each person. So you need to really find out and play with your own intuition and then find out what your language is.
Now, when you say your language of intuition, what are some examples of that?
Well, what you could, for me, there are different channels in which your intuition talks to you. And one of the channels is your feeling. So you sense things, you feel things. That's the general idea about intuition, your gut feeling. But the only thing with the gut feeling is that the gut feeling is a little bit mixed up with anxieties and with anger and with pain. So I also call it clear feeling. So if you can get this feeling sensation more clear and more transparent, then you get a very good feeling of what is happening and where you should go. Another channel is seeing. You can see, and then not with your eyes, but more with your inner eyes. And you see maybe images of where you should go, or you get an image of what marketing images to use, or how to reach out to your clients. And another important is the knowing, the clear knowing. It's more than thinking. Thinking is going like, and it's repeating. And with the clear knowing, it's like a flash of insight. And it's like when you focus on something and you want to, okay, so what should I do? There's the answer. Or when you're in a conversation, it's like, oh, I should ask this, or this name comes to my mind, and oh, maybe I should share this name and we should introduce this person, and then more things come out of that. So those are, for me, 3 important channels, and there are 3 more. It's the clear hearing, that you hear words, and it's even clear smelling and clear tasting. So yeah.
Those are all great channels. I think I'd add on dreams maybe as a separate one, and animal signs is another one.
Right, yeah.
Synchronicities, third one. So many different ways. And, you know, just because you speak one intuition language, that doesn't make it good or bad. You know.
No, and many people are focused on the feeling. And for myself, I'm not really a feeling person. I'm getting more and more into that, but I'm more of a seeing and a knowing person. And then you think, oh, I don't have intuition, but I have a lot of intuition. It's just a different channel. And that also helps my clients to see, oh, okay, so I don't have to focus on the feeling. I can also see things or know things. And when you learn these other channels, like even the dreaming, like you say, then you can get a broader and more rich picture of your intuition. So it makes it just like in normal life, all the senses add information.
Yeah, I mean, any of these ways are good. You may have multiple ways. I did a long course on intuitive life coach training, and some of the people, like they initially they wanted to like get their intuition, like they wanted an angel to appear in front of them in broad daylight and tell them, you know, their intuitive messages. And some people do get that, but
right.
You know, that's very constraining when there are all these other ways you can get the information. So what, you know, that was one of the things we worked on letting go, having to get the information a certain way.
Yeah, that's good that you mentioned that, because for me that's true too. I thought that you could like see these clear images and you get this knowledge, but it's all whispering actually. It's very vague, it's very subtle, but when you tune into it and take it seriously, it gets more clear and more loud actually, your intuition. And by trusting it, you get reassured every time. Oh, okay, so when I trust it, I get into these interesting new opportunities which really work for me. So it's also, it's like I always say, it's like a muscle. You need to train it. And when you train it more, you can use it more and it becomes stronger. So yeah.
Absolutely. So that's what you see business intuition as. Yeah. Using your intuitive language in your business and listening to it and practicing it. And what do you think, why do you think we are, from a spiritual point of view, why as entrepreneurs are we in business in your view?
Why are we in business? What do you mean?
Well, obviously we get into business to create something or serve certain people or make money. Those are the, you know, mundane reasons we go into business, the real world reasons. But I think there are spiritual reasons why people start a business. Yeah, I'm just wondering if you have any view on that.
Yeah, for me, starting a business is never about making money. It is always about expressing yourself and creating something that you could not create when you were working for a company. It's also a very creative boost actually, because I remember the first time I had quit my job and I think at this store, and I was like, okay, so first I was thinking, where should I book these hours? How can I register these hours? I thought, oh no, I don't have to do this anymore. And then I felt this freedom. It was like, wow, I can create and do everything I want. And it was even scary. It was like, wow, this is limitless. But I think that entrepreneurs take the full responsibility of their lives, and there's no one to blame if things go bad, and there's no one else responsible if things go well. So it's all you. And that's also what I see when I coach entrepreneurs, that a lot of issues with marketing is because there's no one to hide behind anymore. It's all about you. And for me, I think, but it's a good question. If there's like a higher spiritual goal, I think everybody is here with it for a reason. And for some people, I think entrepreneurship is a better way to live their life mission or their purpose in life. And well, there's something in me that says everybody should be an entrepreneur, because this is just the total freedom and everybody can. But I think also that some people can do a lot of their mission in life as an employee. So, but then you really have to do some personal work, because as an entrepreneur, yeah, the best thing is that you take full responsibility of your life, and I think that's very important. That you don't blame anybody. That you take the steps, all the steps you take, and every direction you want to go. It's up to you, and that's what I also like about it. Yeah.
That's a great point of view there. Very empowering. My view is that entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey, and that yes, we're there to create products or make money, but it's also for personal growth. And that's actually the main reason, because everyone I know who's an entrepreneur has gone through tremendous personal growth as their business grows. And often if their business is stuck and plateaued at a certain level, is because they're stuck in their personal growth. And the way they break through is by overcoming the mindset or other spiritual blocks that we're going to talk about later that you use Business Constellation work to clear. And that just releases them in their business, but it also shifts them spiritually.
Yes. So I don't know if it's really the purpose of entrepreneur, but that's what you, also for me in the past 10 years, I've done a lot of personal growth, and it has shown immediately in my business. When I do I even had this one session, a very tough bodywork session. And then the week after that, I got 5,000 euros of new revenues. It was like, after that session when there was a lot of freedom created. So, yeah. But I think also employees, if they do this personal growth, will maybe get better jobs, get more freedom in their work, or more creativity. But the only thing is they're forced to do it, because if they don't do it, their business just dies or plateaus. Or
it's a lot clearer for an entrepreneur. For an employee, they can feel stuck but not do anything about it for years and still be okay, possibly, depending on what company they're in. You know? But entrepreneur, there's a lot more immediate feedback. Right. And I mean, part of my role is being a custodian, or I don't know what the right word is, but someone who looks out for their staff and helps them grow personally, because their growing makes them happier, makes them more productive. And even if eventually they end up leaving my company, that's okay, because we've created far more together by them growing. So so let's move on to talk about Business Constellation, because that's one of the ways you can shift this stuckness that you have in your entrepreneurship. So what exactly is Business Constellation?
Well, let me start first by saying that for using business intuition you can use the 6 channels of your intuition, but there are also intuitive tools you can use. And one of them is the Business Constellations. And they can be used for personal growth and transformation, but they can also be used as a management tool. And Business Constellations were developed in Germany in the 1980s. And this therapist, Bert Hellinger, he found out that if you have a question from a person, like a psychological question, you could place people in the room representing his father, his mother, brother, or sister. And these people, for some reason, and that's the interesting thing about constellations, these people sense like this father or mother, and they will even have an accent, or even have like some sweaty hands, or they have this tick that his father had.
And just to clarify, they may never have met.
No, there's not even a story about this father. It's not it's not role playing. It's like, okay, I place you in the place of this father, the position of the father, and I've done it many times myself. You change, suddenly you feel very happy or very depressed. And then when you step out of it, it's gone. So it's very, for me, it's tapping into that intuitive layer again by being placed in somebody's position.
Now that you were talking there about family constellation therapy for solving family dynamic problems, but then you've applied this to business dynamics.
Yeah, so what you can do in business is that you ask somebody to represent your potential client, and you can ask somebody to represent your product or your service, and somebody to represent your business, and maybe your competitors or your clients. And then what you see is like this dynamic, because people start moving, just following this inner movement, and and then the facilitator asks questions. So how are you feeling here? How do you relate to each other? And it gives so much information about what is really happening with you and your potential client in this case, to find out, so what is needed here to get more clients, or what is needed for me to grow my business. Well, and the interesting thing is, it is really focused on business questions. But what I've seen in all these more than 500-600 constellations I've done with entrepreneurs is that sometimes it comes back to the family again. Because when you are an entrepreneur and you work with your clients, you bring in this family system, because you're part of a family system. And when you do business, you are still connected with this family system. And well, that's some interesting knowledge they gain from all these constellations, is that when people form a system, like when you're born, you are in this family system. There's also this, what they call system consciousness. So there's this larger consciousness, which causes all kinds of dynamics inside the system. And sometimes it's subconscious, and sometimes you're very aware of it. But when you start doing business, you're influenced by this consciousness of your family system. And sometimes it's saying, okay, in our family, we don't make a lot of money. Or there's somebody who has been killed for making a lot of money, for example. Or somebody is, what was it? How do you say it? Is that somebody made a lot of money, but the people in the family didn't like him, so they put him out of the system. And this energy is still vibrating in the system. And then when you are trying to do business, you might be pulled back by this energy of not making enough money, not wanting to make enough money, without you knowing it. And in a business constellation, you can also solve these entanglements, they call it. And it's a very powerful method, which sometimes is really magic, and sometimes it's really down to earth, more practical. Even the question about what kind of website should I build could be shown in a business constellation. I had this one client who says, I have two types of customers, like private customers and business customers. Should I have two types of websites? And then I did a constellation where I had one person representing the website, and one person representing the private clients, and one the business clients. And I just asked them, fill your own movement, and where do you want to position yourself? And for some reason, nobody knows why, the website was in the middle, and he was going like, oh, I cannot see both the clients. So it was very clear in like 5 minutes that you should build two websites. So that's a very practical one, and the other is more like a very more transformative one.
That is very interesting, and just the idea that a 50-minute session clearing this energy or reading the energy using business constellation therapy could clear years of stuck issues in your business, or give you insight on an issue where you're not clear what to do and you've been holding back. And definitely, I think I'd agree with you. Most businesses have family dynamics at play. You know, someone has a father issue, and this can apply to staff, right? You hire someone, but they have a father issue, and they treat you as the business owner as their father, and all the anger they had to their father now gets redirected, but not necessarily directly. They may not shout at you, but they may screw things up, or
So in the business constellations, that's when a lot of problems keep repeating, and it's very complex. And in a constellation, you can put somebody behind. If there's an issue between two people, you can always put somebody behind one of the persons and say, okay, so who is this really about? And then you can find out. So there's something between us, but it's not about us. It's about me and somebody else. And then you bring in the right person that this is all about. And then things like, oh, I'm messing this up. This is terrible. And then because they see these two images now next to each other, it's like, Okay, so I can focus my anger on my dad again, and that's something I need to solve. But now I know that my boss is not my father, and I can really relate in a normal way to him.
That sounds very healing. So instead of having to fire the person, you can heal the situation and they can grow personally. Because
I even have seen issues with two project members, and one was they were from Belgium, and there was one from Belgium and one from Holland. And it was about, like in Belgium, they have the French speaking and the Dutch speaking.
Yeah, and they don't get on.
Yeah, you needed to have both because there was some kind of rule. And this lady, she was like very shouting, yeah, and this guy, and she was like hitting the table, and I was, whoa, this looks like a war almost. So I said, so what are you really fighting about? Maybe it's the Flemish and the Dutch, or the Flemish and the French speaking fight you're fighting with the two of you. So I put in the constellation this large country fight they have, and now they could see like, oh, okay, so we're fighting that fight, but it's not our fight. It's more like a national fight, and we don't need to fight that. So they could relate to each other in a normal way again.
That is fascinating, because if you think about it, I mean, people may be thinking, well, I'm not from Belgium or Holland, that doesn't apply in my business. But wait a minute, guys, everyone belongs to some group. You know, you're either male or female, and there's the war between the genders, or you're, you know, black, white, yellow, or some other race, or you've got a different religion, or there's some other grouping, you know, that you belong to.
South or north or east or the west.
It's amazing how many distinctions humans make up about stuff that doesn't really matter, but that's a discussion for another day. But my point is that if you've got a team, those things could be going on under the surface, screwing up their productivity and their enjoyment of working together.
Right.
And if you could put them aside using business constellation therapy, that team could work 10 times more productively and have 10 times as much fun doing it.
Yeah, right.
So genius. The other thing that occurs to me here, Martijn, is that when I'm hiring someone, I sometimes used to think, okay, how do I hire the best person? But I didn't get clear who the best person was. And my intuition might have said, okay, the best person for you, Michaela, is someone who's going to really tweak that family dynamic issue you need to heal. But it isn't actually going to make your business too much money. So you'll get a lot of spiritual growth, but it won't move your business forward.
But no money.
Yeah. So I don't do that anymore. I now ask my intuition who's going to bring me profits and joy, not necessarily who's the best candidate. Quotes.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that, because that's something we learned from constellations, is that patterns that happen in families, they are attracted to patterns happening in companies, and they attract each other. So somebody who has a safety issue, say a safety issue in his family, goes to a company where there are safety problems, and they don't feel secure in this company. And this company, most of the time, is providing something with safety or security in the world. So it's this pattern that is repeating everywhere. So I can almost, it's a very shortcut, but I can say that the police has a safety issue inside the company because they're working with safety, or they have a violence issue. And the people working there have violence issues in their family. And it's not good or bad, but it's like, knowing this, then you can do your safety work or your violence work outside a lot better if you have fixed this inside your company, and if you fix this inside of your families. So it's like a spiritual growth of the persons, but also of the company, and then they can provide much better work in the community.
That is fascinating. And just to be fair to police, I think some people have a pattern of they want to help out or, protect others, it can be, or caretaking. So it's not just violence or.
No, it's not.
But and that, I think that applies not just to the police as a profession, but to every
profession,
every profession, whether you are, creating computer software or baking cakes or writing books or whatever it is. There's something energetically in you that attracts you to that, and that makes you feel, yeah, this is the job or this is the task for me. And that's also true for entrepreneurs. As entrepreneurs, we probably have something in us that's like, we really want to have all that freedom and responsibility and opportunity to grow enormously and create something.
No, I would make amazing. It more specific. Because for me, for example, my tagline is easily successful.
Mm.
And that energy has its shadow side, because easily successful is, I don't like working hard. I don't like tough times. I don't like trouble and struggle. But by saying I focus on easily successful, this is an issue in my life, and I help people becoming easily successful. But at the same time, I have to face also the fact that things are sometimes difficult and it's hard work. And if I don't focus on that and just focus on this easily successful, I cannot do my work that well, as that I also include this hard work and this struggle that life is also about.
Well, I mean, whatever intent we put into our business is going to be a filter for what choices we make in our business, and what kind of business we want to create.
Right.
And I would just say there are an infinite number of entrepreneurial paths, and they all lead to different spiritual growth.
Right.
And easily successful is one path. Struggle and hard successful is another. Yeah. Success, fail is another. There's all kinds of paths different entrepreneurs take. Right. And you can see it I can see it much more clearly looking at other entrepreneurs and be like, oh yeah, they're running that thing. Easy. But I was reading a book that a business friend of mine had written about recently, and it was one of those special forces autobiographies. This guy was in the Army Special Forces, and they had to train really hard and work together as a team intensely. And one of them had a mantra that's the total opposite of that. His mantra was, not dead, don't quit. In other words, it could get incredibly hard. He could be suffering, but if he's not actually dead, he can still think, then he has to keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah, which led him to be able to succeed, at an incredible level. On the other hand, I think he died from a heart attack at age 50 something. So not actually the life path I choose, but there you go.
Well, and the good thing I learned about facilitating constellations is that there is no good nor bad. So it's not like, okay, so this is the good path or this is the bad path, or if you do this is good or this is bad. Because in the constellation, we approach everything like, okay, this is what it is. And this is how life shows up to you. And this is just what you have to take, actually. That's what we say. It's like you need to take this, because it's not different from what it is. And some people want to change everything that is. And the change always starts with accepting what is, or acknowledging what is. You don't really have to accept it, but you have to acknowledge it. It's like, okay, so this is what I see here in my life or in my business.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. So I'm totally convinced of the business entrepreneur, constellation therapy is a great thing. But suppose some of the people listening, are not like sure they should be checking it out or experimenting with it. What would you say? Why should they at least experiment with it?
I would say don't call it therapy because it's business constellations are also a very practical way of looking at what is the real cause of the problem and what is the real way to success. Instead of analyzing and thinking a lot, it's a very easy way to find the keys to your success. And like I said, in a session with sometimes in 10 minutes or 30 minutes, you already get a lot of insights. The other day I had this workshop, Intuitive Marketing, where we work with marketing, but then with a lot of constellations and intuitive work. And one of the questions was, okay, I have all these marketing channels. I can use my social media, website, webinars, podcasts. I can do flyering. I can do whatever. which one should I use? And I said, okay, what you do, you write down all these options you have, and you fold the pieces of paper. And then you choose from the group. You choose somebody to represent this piece of paper, which represents one of your options. And these people, I just said, okay, follow your intuition. Follow where do you feel that you need to move to. And we had one person representing the potential client, and the entrepreneurs all stepped into the constellation. So we had these people moving with these pieces of paper, and we had the client moving, and very soon the client started hooking up with one of these people, and they said, yeah, this is just what I need. And then when you could just open the piece of paper and you knew, okay, so this is what I need to focus on. So in 10 minutes, this whole complex thing, like, okay, all these marketing channels was brought back to, okay, the client, some of the channels were all the way back. Some was close to the entrepreneur. So he knew, okay, so this is something I like, but the client was not really connected. So you can do it, but it's not your way to getting more clients. So that's why I would advise people to do this, because it is also a very practical way of getting your business in a new flow, and to getting to know what steps to take to make more success out of your business.
That is great. So that's taking a really complicated decision. Probably they'd been stuck with it for months, if not years, and then cutting through in minutes to get what's the right way to proceed.
Right. Yeah.
Without having to like do a lot of analytical research and make spreadsheets and logically figure it out,
because
which could take forever.
It doesn't work. Yeah, but it doesn't work, because then you make a spreadsheet and you make, okay, well, maybe I give it a 7. No, make it an 8, because then it's not going to work.
Now, the other thing you alluded to earlier, you talked there about using this to read intuitive information, but my understanding is you can also use it to shift things or adjust stuff. Suppose you were in that example, you were trying to pick the marketing channel, and for some reason, one of them you wanted to do, but it didn't feel right. You could do that to adjust it to make it feel better and make it go better.
Yes, well, that's maybe a difficult example, but sometimes when I do a marketing constellation, you see that there's this tension between the person, the entrepreneur, and the client. It's like the client wants to run away, or the client doesn't want to connect, or yeah, that's what happens. And then I say, okay, this is what it is. We need to acknowledge what is. So you see the client just turn around like, oh, I'm not interested here. And then it's interesting to find out what is happening here. Why is this client not interested? So sometimes I bring in like a bridge, something that can be a bridge between the two. But sometimes the client says, yeah, well, you're not focusing on me. You're focusing on something behind you. You need to fix your own problems first. And then, well, this entrepreneur, most of the time, they recognize this on a deep level. They can sense like, oh, this is true. Yeah, right. It's tough to face, but I deep inside I know, and that I know this from my own constellations, that you see this and you say, no, I don't want to see this, but it's right. I feel it's right. And then I either bring in like the father and the mother and see, okay, so maybe there's some family issues. But in another workshop, I had this guy who wanted to have more clients in his own city. He was working all over the country, but not in his own city. And he was, why not? So we did a constellation, and we put a representative, somebody representing the clients in his own city. And they said, I can feel death here. I was like, oh, well, this is a business constellation. We're not talking about death. But yeah, he said, it's very clear. I can sense death here. So I brought in a representative for that what was dead. And then this entrepreneur said, whoa, yes, now I know. Because my office building used to be a garage, and the owner of the garage has committed suicide. Okay, so that was a reason why the local people didn't want to come to his business, because there was this suicide energy still there. And yeah, actually, the only thing he had to do is sit next to this dead person and say, okay, this is what it is. But he couldn't do it without crying. So in that setting, it was not really. So that took another session to work on that. But it's very healing, but at the same time, it's very confronting that these issues can influence your marketing and your business. But I have learned that there are so many influences in this underwater world, in this intuitive layer, that influence your business. And if you don't work on that, you can work really hard in the real world, but don't make the results that you should make. So that's why I always advise to use this intuitive layer, either with business constellations or with visualization or meditation, to find out what is really happening here.
I think that's a very insightful comment about, it could be something in the office space, because it's very common in my experience that the office space or houses or hotel rooms have weird energy in. And it might be from someone murder or suicide, but more often it's like something violent that happened there, a terrible argument or a family rift or a sexual energy or something. And if it isn't cleared up, it just kind of hangs around there, and then it ends up affecting you in a subconscious way. So I really recommend feeling into that. I did an interview with Russell Smith a while back, and we went in pretty depth to that. So I'll link that in the show notes for people interested in that idea. But the more sensitive you get to this intuitive info, the more you can be affected by other people and places.
Well, they've done some interesting research in England. There seem to be some places that there are more car accidents. And they thought, why are these places, why do they have more car accidents? And then you can look at the roads and the signs and the lightning. But what they found out is that they used to be war zones. So in the World War, that was where the battles were. So this battle energy was still there.
Wow.
And this is what Robert Sheldrake has called the morphogenetic fields. So this is energy that's still there and stays there over time. And that's also what happens with businesses. And that's happening with what's happening with families. There's all this energy, like if you have a company that has a long history, there's energy in your history still influencing what you're doing today. And yeah, if you like come as a new employee and you don't know about this energy, but you will adjust to the energy right away without you knowing it. So when this is a supportive energy, it's very good. But when it's like a restrictive energy, then you should look at it as a company owner. You should say, okay, so what is happening here? Why is this all this illness and sickness in my company? Or why is this not working here? Or why are these two teams not working together? And from a systemic perspective, that what we call, if we look from it systemically, like with business constellations, there's always a deeper cause that is causing these symptoms. So we don't look at it as a problem, but as a symptom of something that is happening somewhere else. And then you have a larger view of the issues in your company, instead of just looking, okay, this is this person and she's always behaving very bad, so we need to get rid of her. No, this is a signal of the system, like, okay, we're missing something somewhere. So we need to find out what we're missing. Otherwise, we'll fire this person, and the next day we get a new person and doing the same thing.
I think that is a very wise way to look at it. Instead of complaining about bad employees or bad areas in our businesses, to see them as messages from the business to us, that there's something inside us to shift.
Because businesses also have a consciousness. So I had it with my own company. I started my own company, and then I wanted to start this intuitive coaching academy. And I had a new website, a new logo, but it didn't really work. I didn't get the clients. And there was a reason that my business intuition website, I couldn't close it down for some reason. I just didn't. And then in a constellation, I saw that this was just a big distraction for me. I was like working with this academy, and I saw my mission in life was very happy with my business intuition company, and we were going like very fast and had big plans, and I was just distracted by all kinds of other things. So the business intuition that I started just had its own energy and its own consciousness saying, okay, we need to go that direction. If you want to go another way, I don't mind. We go this direction. And that's the same also with large companies, that the managers think that they can create a strategy and a goals, but there's this larger consciousness, and you should follow that consciousness. You should tune into the energy of your company. Where does it want to take me? What is it asking from me? It's not like what am I asking from the business? No, what is the business asking from me, or what is the larger purpose asking from me?
Yeah, I mean, instead of thinking I am the one creating my business, perhaps the business is creating itself through me.
Right. And it's not the business like in business, but it's more like the higher purpose of the business.
Right.
For me, that's telling people and letting people experience that there is so much more to business than what we can see with our eyes, and that you can boost your business. Well, that wanted to go into the world, and I'm just a vehicle of doing that.
Very interesting way to look at things, and gives a lot of insight and takes the pressure off. So, you told me earlier about someone who was seeing their business as a very serious endeavor. It was like big business, and it was a lot of stress. And how did she tell us how you helped her transform that and where she got to?
Yeah, this was this young lady actually had a coaching business with coaching young girls, and yeah, for some reason, or I know the reason, people have an idea of a business that you need to be very serious and you need to work hard and have these goals and and that's not what business is about. Business is fun, and especially if you're coaching small children, then you should also have this playing energy in your company. Otherwise, you will not attract children and their parents to your company. So what we did a constellation to find out, okay, so why is your business not growing? And what is blocking it? So she got a lot of insight from that. And not only insight, but also some energy already changed inside of her. But I also work with release techniques, and I use the Sedona method. You might be familiar with that. And it's a very powerful and strong release technique that you can release all kinds of thoughts, of anxiety, of fears, and even physical sensations. And by releasing all of that, you get much more freedom to look at your business in a fresh way. And after the coach sessions, and we had six sessions, I think, where we did all kinds of things. She said my revenues tripled. So she was very excited about that. And of course, she also did some things herself, but it was also due to the coaching, she said. So, and that was all intuitive coaching, because sometimes I look at the figures, okay, so how can you make more money? But most of the time it's about, so what is blocking you, and how can we transform this energy, and how can we transform your mindset that this road unfolds itself, and that you find the energy inside of yourself to take the right steps.
I think that's amazing. And I'm just going to imagine she not only tripled her revenue, but she probably tripled her happiness as well.
Yes. And I can tell you now that she's teaching other people how to coach small children. So, and that's I think the coaching was like 3-4 years ago. And now she already is a mentor for other people, and she teaches other people how to run their coaching business. So it's very interesting to look at her now to see what she's doing, because she really got herself a big boost. Yeah.
I think for me, my viewpoint is really any problem in business is really simple. Millions of other entrepreneurs have probably solved the exact same problem. The steps to do it, you probably already know yourself what you need to do, but there's often internal resistance or self-sabotage when you come to implement it. Or you make it too complicated, or you go 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, or any of that stuff. So really the place to really get leverage in our businesses is this stuff you're talking about, of shifting the pattern, shifting your mindset, and then it just flows easily.
That's also why I think you asked, why should people use business intuition? It's because all this technical and rational information, we can just Google. We can find everything about how to get new clients, how to do the finance, how to make more out of whatever. there are so many ebooks and gurus and videos, and so it's not difficult anymore. Like 20 years ago, it was, yeah, you needed people and coaches to tell you that. But now you have all this information, so you know what to do. But now you need, to know what do you need to do and what fits you and your company. And you need to free yourself of all the limitations you have to take the right steps.
So let's talk about if you're merging your business with another one or acquiring another one, or maybe you're just reorganizing your own business internally. How does this stuff apply there? Because a lot of crazy stuff can happen when you merge two businesses.
I know. Well, first of all, you need to make sure what is the intention of the merger. And is the intention of the merger aligned with the goals of the both companies? So if you have a company that really wants to, well, let's say it's a company that has it's an IT company, and they want to create fun games and have people have fun in their lives. And there's this other company, which is a financial company, and but for some reason, or financial IT company, and they have a totally different purpose. And the only purpose for the manager or the stakeholders to merge is to, like, okay, we want to make more money, and we want to get rid of all the overhead, and we want to triple our revenues. Well, I can already say that it's not really going to work. And then you can say, okay, it's a lot of resistance, and we need to do something about the resistance, and it's the people that want to listen to us. But that's never the issue. That the issue is something before that. It's like that these two goals, they don't match. Or the goal, like, I want to make money, is not matching the energy of the systems.
It would be a bit like if two people got married and one of them wanted to live in Holland and the other one wanted to live in, Thailand. And
right. Yeah.
They'd be like at each other's,
Yes, and they were forced to marry by their parents because they could get a very big money from the bride.
Yeah. It's not a recipe for a happy union. And the same thing with businesses.
Well, the thing is, they've done some research there, and they say that they have happier marriages when they're arranged. But that's
but when cultures where they do arrange marriage, they usually put quite a lot of effort into making sure it's a good match. Yeah. They'll get astrologers, they'll talk with the family, they'll make sure there's some compatibility between the families and the people. They don't just throw random people together.
No, so that's also with mergers. And then you need to, and I always advise to do a business constellation before the merger to see what kind of dynamics will you create with the merger. Where will you find the tensions, and what is needed to relax some of the tensions, and what is needed to get this all smooth into each other? Because sometimes a merger is a very good idea, and it will benefit the people, it will benefit the community, it will benefit the clients, it will benefit the stakeholders. Because that's what I think, that's very important idea I have. When you follow your intuition and use intuitive methods, you will always create businesses that are good for the environment, good for the people, good for the money, good for the employees, good for yourself, and good for everyone. Because then you are in this flow of positiveness and flow of love, you can say. And you will create a better world.
Absolutely. And that's part of the reason, I'm involved in this, to create a better world, but we'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
Let's just come towards the end of our interview by asking, why are you proud to openly use your business intuition, Martijn?
Well, I'm proud because when I started 10 years ago, this was very new, and it was it was like walking in the jungle. And people were saying, what are you doing here? This is crazy, and you should just follow this path. And I decided, no, I want to walk my own path. And I've struggled, and I have worked hard, and I have also relaxed, and I've also done a lot of personal development. And now I'm here. And the interesting thing is that I started in the Netherlands, and since 1 or 2 years, I've spread my wings and come to other countries. I've done a lot of in Europe, and now, actually, yesterday I talked to this guy in America, and I'm coming to Oakland to give a workshop there in May. And I'm so proud that this thing is expanding, and I'm expanding and developing myself as well. So that's what I'm very proud of, actually. Yes.
That is great. So, as I alluded to earlier, I'm on a mission to have every entrepreneur openly use their intuition in business, because they'll make more money, have less stress, have more joy in their business. Sounds like very similar to what you're doing. Yeah. And then additionally, I think if every business leader used their intuition, it would inspire their staff, their customers, their vendors, and they would make less stupid decisions that hurt other people or hurt the planet. I wouldn't claim they'd make no stupid decisions, but it would cut down the number of stupid decisions enormously. So
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of the difference between driving a car where all the windows have been covered in black paint so you can't see where you're going and you keep running over pedestrians, hitting other cars, or you clear out that and you can see all the information around you with your intuition. And now you can make conscious choices about what you do much better. So,
yeah, I think I like the one with the car, because I think it's a car with all black windows, but just one little hole. And people are looking and they're going, oh no, we need to go this, oh no. And with intuition, it's all clear. All the windows are clear. So you can make a much better decision. It's so much easier and more fun.
Yeah, and that small hole that has the rational information, we don't throw that away. We still keep the rational information, just use it together with all the other information. Yeah. So my final question to you is, what would it take to make business intuition more openly used this year?
Doing more podcasts like this. So for me, it's also just spreading the word. I give a lot of webinars. I give a lot of free stuff like you do in your newsletters. It's very good. Like your newsletters, it's like giving people practical tools and practical ways of using their intuition to show that it's very easy. And to talk about it openly. You talk about it openly, I do, and other people still hide a little bit behind, oh no, it's not very intuitive, but it's like, I just say, okay, I have this car, it says intuitive, business intuition, it says very, and everybody in my street can see that I'm working with business intuition. So that's what I think it will take, is that we start talking about it more openly, and just give these webinars, podcasts, and free stuff so that more people can come in contact with this.
That is fabulous, very inspiring. So if people want to find you online, what are the best ways to do that?
Best way is go to intuition-in-business.com with dashes, intuition-in-business.com. Or look me up on LinkedIn, Martijn Meima, or Facebook. But on the website, you will find all the information. Yeah.
Great. Well, we'll put those in the show notes so people can find it easily, which you can find at intuitiveleadershipmastery.com. And thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Yes, you're welcome. I enjoyed it.